Snow fell silently over Earth's Arctic Research Outpost 47. The white storm covered the ground in thick layers, hiding everything beneath it. The wind howled, but the team inside the outpost worked quietly, unaware that something impossible was about to fall from the sky. Deep in the early morning hours, radar technician Mara noticed something strange. A fast-moving object was coming through the atmosphere. It wasn't following any flight path. It was too fast for a satellite and too slow for a meteor. The signal blinked red on her screen. Her eyes widened. She called over her superior, Lieutenant. Graffy looked at the readings and frowned. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything Earth knew. Within minutes, alarms screamed across the base. The object was falling fast. They ran outside to see it. A streak of fire lit up the sky like a second sun. Then came the sound louder than thunder, like metal screaming as it tore through the air. The team ducked as the object flew past them and crashed just 3 kilometers away in the frozen forest. A mushroom cloud of snow and fire rose where it landed. Graf gathered a small team. They moved quickly in snow vehicles. No one spoke. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't a normal crash. The burning wreckage came into view. The ship was black, alien in shape, sharp like a knife, and covered in strange silver symbols. One side of it was torn open, metal twisted like paper. Fire hissed in the snow. The team scanned for life signs. The result came back. None. It looked like whoever was inside had died instantly. But something wasn't right. 8. Mara stepped closer and heard a slow, weak thump, almost like a heartbeat. It came from inside the wreck. They cut through the hole using a plasma torch. The inside of the ship smelled like chemicals and smoke. It was dark. Then they saw it. A body slumped against the wall, covered in burns and green blood. It was tall, thin, with pale blue skin and long limbs. Its chest moved slowly, barely rising. One eye opened weakly and looked at them. It was alive. Graf froze. We need to report this. Mara shook her head. If we wait, it'll die. We don't know what it is, he said. It could be dangerous. She stared at the creature. It's hurt. That's all I see. Graf hesitated. Gave the order. Bring it in. They carried the alien back to base, keeping it in a sealed medical room. The doctors had no idea what to do. Its body was completely different from any species they'd seen. They tried basic treatment, oxygen, fluids, heat, but its condition didn't change. The alien lay unconscious for hours. It twitched, muttered strange words in its sleep, and kept gripping its side in pain. One doctor tried speaking to it slowly. In English, not expecting any reply. To their shock, the alien responded with a whisper. One word. Help. The base fell silent. Someone tried to ask where it was from, but the alien only groaned. It couldn't talk more. Later that night, while the base slept, one soldier entered the med room alone. His name was Mason. He had fought. In the Mars skirmishes, he didn't trust aliens. He believed in safety first. He stood over the alien, holding a loaded pistol. He whispered, I don't know what you are, but I've seen too much to believe this is just a crash. The alien opened one eye again. Weak and calm. Mason's finger moved to the trigger. Behind him, Mara's voice came sharp. Put it down, he turned. You don't know what you're protecting. You don't know what you're killing. They stared at each other. Finally, Mason lowered the weapon. He left the room without another word. The next morning, the alien was stronger. It sat up slowly and looked around. Mara was there. She spoke gently, introduced herself, and gave it water. The alien touched the cup carefully, as if confused by the kindness. After some time, it spoke again. Shirak, it said, pointing to itself. She smiled. Shirak, that's your name? It nodded once. In the next few days, Shirak learned to say simple words. He didn't know English well, but he understood kindness. He began to trust Mara and the other doctors. Slowly, he told them his story in pieces. He was once a soldier, a captain His people, the Dravari, believed in power and war. They took planets and erased resistance. But one day Sherrock refused an order to destroy a civilian colony that posed no threat. He was called a traitor. His own fleet fired on him. While he was trying to escape, he had jumped through a wormhole blindly and his ship crashed on Earth. Mara listened carefully. So they tried to kill you for showing mercy. Garak nodded. Graf watched from the observation room. Protecting a deserter from a war-hungry race. Great. But despite his doubt, he began to see the change in Garak. He helped repair a broken door. He stopped a machine from overheating. He tried to understand human emotions. Sometimes he watched people laugh and tilted his head in confusion. Then one day, a deep space transmission came. Was Dravari code. They had found him. The message was short. Return the traitor, or suffer the consequence. Graf called a base meeting. We have to decide. Do we hand him over, or keep him here and risk war? Some wanted to give Garak up. Others refused. Mara stood up. We saved his life, not because he was human, because he needed help. If that makes us a target, so be it. Garak watched silently, stood, walked forward, and said, I will leave. I do not want humans to die for me. Mara looked at him. And if they come anyway? Garak didn't answer. But in his eyes something burned, shame and anger. Later that night, Garak walked the halls alone. He passed a room where, two children of the scientists were playing. They saw him and waved. He hesitated, and he waved back, slowly. He had never known innocence before. On his world, children trained for war. Here they played and laughed. He sat in a quiet room and stared at his reflection. A traitor to his people, a stranger among humans. But for the first time in his life, he didn't feel alone. Outside, the sky darkened again. Far above, cloaked. Ships hovered in orbit, waiting to strike. And deep below, in the snow-covered Earth base, a wounded alien who should have died began to find his reason to live again, because humans had saved his life. Now, he would protect theirs, no matter the cost. Snow kept falling outside the base, covering everything in silence. Inside, things were far from quiet. Scientists and soldiers argued over what to do with Garak, the alien who had survived the crash. Some wanted to protect him, others saw him as a threat. Garak stayed in the medical room, hooked to machines that barely helped him. His body was strange. Some of his blood was thick like gel, and his bones glowed faintly under scans. Human medicine only worked a little, but he was healing slowly. He sat up more now. He tried to walk, though his legs were still weak. Every time he stood, someone watched him closely. The guards didn't trust him. Not yet. One of them always had a hand near their weapon. But Garak didn't care. He had faced worse than stares. He had faced death. His own people had betrayed him. These humans didn't understand him, but they saved him. They gave him heat, food, and even a bed. He had never slept in something so soft. Mara visited him every day. She brought a small device that played music. She showed him how to listen. At first, Garak didn't understand. The sounds made no sense. But over time, the music calmed him. It reminded him of a language without words. One day, she brought a tablet with pictures. She pointed and said simple words: tree, sky, water. Garak repeated them slowly. His voice was rough, his accent thick, but he tried. Then she pointed to herself. Mara. He looked at her and nodded. Mara. She smiled and handed the tablet to him. He pointed at himself. Sherrock, he said softly. Their eyes met. For a moment he saw something he hadn't known since childhood: peace. But peace didn't last. Late that night, a coded signal reached Earth's main satellite. It was from deep space. It carried Dravari language Sherrock's people. The signal was cold and short. Return the traitor, or Earth will face consequences. Commanders across Earth met on emergency calls. Was this a threat? A bluff? Or a promise? In Outpost 47, the base leaders read the message and stayed silent. Graf stared at the words for a long time before finally speaking. They know he's here, and they're coming. The room fell quiet. Back in the medical room, Sharak stared at the snowy window. He didn't sleep anymore. He was healing fast, but his mind was heavy. He had hoped they wouldn't follow him here. He had hoped Earth was far enough away. It wasn't. He heard the news from Mara the next morning. She didn't lie. She showed him the message. His face darkened. He closed his eyes. "They will not stop," he said. "Can we fight them?" she asked. "No, not. With this base, their ships are stronger. They send a message first, and then fire." She looked worried. "We won't give you up." He turned to her, surprised. "Why?" "You asked for help. We gave it. That's who we are." Sharak lowered his head. "My people do not understand this." She touched his arm gently. "And maybe you're not like them anymore." Later that day, a new face arrived at the base. Commander Elliot sent from Central Command. He wore a long black coat and spoke with sharp words. He demanded answers. "Is the alien conscious?" "Yes." "Can it speak?" "Yes." "Then I want to question it myself." He entered the medical room alone. Sharak stood when he saw him. He sensed something in this human cold, calculating. "Not like Mara." "I am Commander Elliot," the man said. "I speak for Earth's Defense Council." Garak nodded once. "You were a soldier," Elliot said. "Yes, a traitor." Garak's jaw tightened. "A protector." Disobeyed. Orders refused to destroy civilians. They had no weapons. They were farmers. Elliot narrowed his eyes. "What if we are the next farmers?" Garak stepped forward. "Then I will protect you." Elliot studied him. "We don't trust easily, and we don't forget betrayal." "I understand." Elliot left the room, saying nothing else. Outside, he met Graf and Mara. He looked serious. He might be telling the truth, or he might be a trap. Either way, we're being watched. That night, something happened. A strange signal appeared on the base radar brief, then gone. It's like a flicker, then another, and another. They formed a pattern. Jarak saw it on the screen and went pale. "Scout ships, how many?" Graf asked. 3, maybe 5. "They are cloaked. Watching." The base went into lockdown. Extra guards were posted. Weapons were armed. But everyone knew they were too far north and too far alone. Help wouldn't come in time. In the dark of the med room, Jarak sat alone. He pulled off the tubes and wires and stood by the mirror. His body was scarred. One arm had metal implants. His chest had a strange symbol burned into it, the mark of exile. He touched it, then turned away. He opened a small drawer and pulled out a tool Mara had given him. It was a multi-tool, simple. Human tech. But it gave him an idea. In the next few hours, Jarak worked. He used the parts from the broken heating unit and a few wires from the med bay. He built something small and strange. When Mara came to check on him, he showed her. "What is it?" she asked. "A pulse reader. It detects movement. Even cloaked, you built that. With scraps?" Sharak smiled. "War teaches you many things." She stared at the device. "You might just save us." "No," he said. "We save each other." Later that night, alarms sounded again. Second, the device Jarak made beeped loudly. One of the scout ships had dropped lower. It was scanning the base. Graf ordered the lights off. Everyone went still. Power was cut to appear empty, but they knew the enemy saw them. Sharak stood at the window and whispered something in his language. A prayer. A warning. Then he turned to Mara. If they attack, they will not just come for me. They will burn this place to the ground. We fight, she said. He looked into her eyes. You saved my life. Now I give it for yours. In the freezing dark of Outpost 47, a quiet war began. Not with guns, but with decisions. Who would stand for what was right? Who would protect a stranger that no one understood? And as the sky above grew restless, one heartbeat, Talion, steady, determined, decode in the shadows of a world that still had hope. Because sometimes, the strongest warriors are not those who fight to conquer, those who choose to protect. The sky over Outpost 47 turned strange. Clouds twisted. Snow swirled harder. Done. The base stood silent, like it was holding its breath. Inside, every light was off. Power was lowered to minimum. The humans tried to make the base look empty. Cold. Dead. But everyone inside knew it wouldn't fool the enemy for long. Sherak stood near the window in the control room. His eyes glowed slightly in the dark. He whispered something in his own language, then turned to Graf and Mara. They will. Come before sunrise. Graf looked at the scanner. Still no readings? They know how to hide, Sherak said. That's why I built this. Place the small pulse tracker on the table. It showed faint signals movement, not far from the base. 3 ships. Maybe more. Commander Elliot walked in. He was tense. We can't contact HQ. The storm's blocking our signal. They're jamming it, Sherak said. Elliot's jaw tightened. So we're blind, alone, and surrounded. No, Sherak replied. We're ready. Mara stepped forward. We can't win a full fight, but we can defend. We know the base better than they do. Elliot didn't look convinced. They'll come with weapons we've never seen. Then we use weapons they never expect, said Sherak. The team split up quickly. Soldiers moved to key points. Scientists helped. Reinforce doors. Sherak and Mara worked on setting traps using leftover energy cells. They wired hallway walls to deliver shock pulses. They set smoke grenades at every corner by nightfall. The base was ready not for victory, but for survival. The first sign came as a low hum. The ice outside cracked. Something massive touched down near the edge of the forest. Then came the light, sharp blue beams scanning the snow. Sherak pressed the pulse tracker. They're here. Graf gripped his rifle tighter. Positions, everyone took cover. The first enemy didn't knock, cut through the base wall like it was paper. A long black blade of plasma sliced the outer shell. Steam hissed into the night. Through the smoke stepped tall shaped Dravari soldiers. Cold, fast, silent. Sherak watched them from the shadows. His jaw tightened. He knew them. These were elite. Hunters. The same ones who had once followed his orders. They were here to kill him. A loud crack filled the hallway. One of the booby traps exploded. A Dravari soldier fell back, screeching. Another rushed forward, but slipped on a hidden ice patch Mara had poured earlier. He slammed into the wall, stunned. Humans opened fire. Bullets didn't kill Dravari easily, but the surprise worked. They fell back, regrouping in the chaos. Sherak ran toward the power room. He had one plan. The Dravari ships needed a signal to lock their plasma beams. If he could jam that signal. He found the relay room and started working fast. Wires sparked. His fingers flew over the control pad. He hacked the base's radio system and redirected power through the antenna. Back in the hall, Mara held her ground with 3 soldiers. Smoke filled the air. One Dravari charged through, claws raised. The soldier panicked, but before the alien could strike, Sherak's jammer activated. The air shook. All Dravari tech flickered. Their weapons went dark. Sherak yelled, "Now, humans!" Surged forward, bats, shields, and stun guns in hand. No lasers, just raw courage. The fight turned brutal. The Dravari were stronger, faster, but the humans fought harder. One by one, soldiers fell, but they never ran. Not once. Sherak joined them in the hallway. His body still hurt, but he fought anyway. A Dravari warrior came at him, snarling. They locked arms. For a moment, Chirac was back in the war, back in his past. But this time, he didn't fight for power. He fought for people who had saved him. He threw the enemy down hard. The floor cracked. Garak took a deep breath. No more. By dawn, the base was in ruins. Smoke rose from broken walls. Snow blew into shattered rooms. But the last Travari ship pulled away. They were leaving, not in victory, but in confusion. They didn't expect resistance. They didn't expect pain. And they didn't expect the traitor to stand with the humans. Chirac limped outside. Blood both green and red stained the snow. He looked up. The sky was bright now. Storm had passed. Beside him, Mara stood with a cut on her cheek. She smiled, tired but alive. Graf joined them, holding his injured arm. Around them, the survivors helped the wounded. Commander Elliot walked up slowly. He looked at Garak with new eyes. "You saved us," he said, Garak. Didn't smile. "We saved each other." Elliot nodded. "You're right. They didn't expect this. They never will," Chirac said. "Because they never believed kindness had strength." That night, the base sent a signal to Earth Command. A warning. Promise. Earth had faced something alien, dangerous, powerful. But they didn't run because they had each other, and one alien who chose not to be a weapon anymore, but a shield. The silence after the battle didn't last long. 2 days later, the snowstorm came back, thicker, louder, and darker. But it wasn't just nature's fury this time. The sky carried something else, something far worse. Above Outpost 47, 3 new ships appeared. Bigger, heavier, not scouts. These were warships. Jarek saw them first. He stood on the roof with a long-range viewer. His face turned pale as the ships pushed through the clouds like metal monsters. "They're not here to threaten this time," he said quietly. "They're here to finish it." Commander Elliot ordered an emergency meeting inside the base. Everyone still breathing gathered: soldiers, engineers, medics, and Chirac. Graf slammed his hand on the table. "We held them off once. We'll do it again." Chirac shook his head. "That was their test. This is the real force." Mara looked at him. "How many on board? Maybe 1,000 soldiers? Maybe more? And new machines." "Never seen them." Elliot rubbed his face, tired. "We don't have the weapons. Not anymore. It destroyed most of our guns last time." Chirac stood up. "Then we make them afraid." Everyone turned to him. "You know this base, Chirac?" Said, "You know, the tunnels, the rooms, the vents. They don't. That's your strength." Elliot frowned. "That's not enough." Chirac's voice turned colder. "Then we take the fight to them. Not here. Out there." The room fell silent. "You mean board their ships?" Graf asked. Chirac nodded. "Yes. While they're preparing for attack, hit first. From inside, take out their controls. Scare them. Show them humans don't kneel." It sounded mad. It was mad, but no one said no. By night, the plan was set. Chirac led a small team, Graf, and 2 trained soldiers. They carried EMP charges, short-range weapons, and rebreathers. Garak modified an old mining pod into a stealth shuttle. It was slow but silent. The next morning, the snowstorm covered their launch. The pod left the ground like a ghost, hiding inside the storm. No radar saw them inside the pod. Mara's hands trembled. "We're really doing this," Garak sat. Across from her, "Fear is not weakness. It means you still value life." "What about you?" she asked. He looked away. "I lost that feeling long ago, until I met you." The pod shook. The warship grew closer. Graf looked through the small glass window. "That's a beast. It's bigger than anything I've seen." Garak activated the magnetic claws. "We stick to the underbelly, then climb." The pod latched on with a loud clunk. They waited. No alarms. No movement. Then came the climb. Garak led them out through the top hatch. The warship's belly was massive smooth metal with blinking lights and heat vents. They crawled slowly, attaching to handholds and pipes. Above them, death waited. Finally, they reached a side airlock. Jarak pulled out a round tool and placed it on the door. It beeped twice. The lock clicked open. They were inside. The halls were dim, cold metal floors, blue lights. Door. Garak moved like a ghost. The others followed. They stayed quiet, close to the walls, down one corridor. They saw two Dravari soldiers. Garak raised a hand stop. The aliens walked past, unaware. Mara whispered, "Where's the control room?" 4 levels up, Garak answered. And deep inside, they moved fast, past engine rooms and storage halls. Once, they had to hide inside a vent as a patrol passed. Inside the tight space, they could hear the enemy's voices, calm, confident. They didn't expect trouble. Not here. Sherrock found the stairs. This way, but just before they reached the 3rd level alarm, intruders detected. Sherrock froze. They found the pod. Footsteps thundered below. The enemy was coming, Godrak shouted. They sprinted. 2 soldiers stayed back to slow the pursuit. They fired stun rounds down the stairwell, buying time. Jarak, Mara, and Graf reached the control room. The door was locked. Garak placed the last EMP charge on it. 5 seconds, he said. The door exploded inward with a flash of blue light. The control room was full of Dravari officers. For a moment, everyone stared. No one moved. Then chaos. Graf opened fire. Amara threw a smoke grenade. Jarak dashed to the control panel, typing fast. He knew the system. He knew where to hit. Outside the ship, systems began to fail. Lights blinked. Turrets shut down. The engines hiccuped. Jarak inserted a Viresa human-made hack that looped all commands. The warship started to shake. Lights flashed red. One officer rushed Jarak, but Mara stepped in and fired straight to the chest. The alien dropped. Done. Jarak yelled, "We move!" They escaped through a side corridor. Behind them, sirens howled. Fire burst from pipes. Dravari soldiers shouted across speakers. The humans raced back down the halls. The warship was turning, literally losing control. One side dipped toward the ground. In the distance, they saw their pod burning, destroyed. Graf cursed. "We have no way off." Jarak looked at the nearest escape pod. "We do now." They jumped in. Jarak smashed the launch panel. The pod ejected just as the warship began spiraling. Outside, the sky was red and white flames, snow and smoke. The escape pod hit the ground hard. It rolled, coughing, alive. From the field, they looked up. The warship above them burned. It didn't crash, but it limped powerless, retreating. The other ships saw what happened. They didn't attack. They turned and followed their leader leaving. Earth's sky, back at Outpost 47, soldiers cheered when the sky cleared. They couldn't believe it. The enemy was gone, and the heroes returned, battered, wounded, but alive. Elliot met them at the gates. For the first time, he smiled. "You broke a warship," he said to Sherrock. "No," Sherrock replied. "We broke their belief that humans are weak." Earth had been tested again, but when the enemy came back with fire, humanity answered with fury. The snow had stopped. The sky was clear for the first time in weeks. Outpost 47 stood silent, surrounded by burnt wreckage, shattered ice, and frozen remains of alien metal. Inside, the base repairs had started, but the people were still tense. No one knew if the enemy would return. Sherrock sat alone in the medical bay. His left arm was damaged during the escape from the warship. Human medics had done their best, but his body wasn't fully human. His veins glowed faintly under his skin, and strange symbols pulsed across his shoulder. Mara entered quietly. "Held a small scanner? We got your blood results." Jarak nodded slowly, and she sat across from him. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled slightly. "There's something different. We found code markers inside your blood, not just alien DNA. There's a program, something alive inside your cells." Jarak looked away. "I was built for war." "What does that mean?" she asked. He took a deep breath. "The Dravari didn't just train me. They engineered me. My blood carries command codes, signals, triggers. If I ever returned to them, they could take control. Mara's eyes widened, like a machine. Yes, Chirac said. Like a weapon. She stood. But they didn't control you in the last fight. You were free, I think. Their control faded after my crash. Or maybe your people healed me too well. Graf entered the room, carrying a tablet. Chirac, come quick. You need to see this. They rushed to the command center. Elliot stood near the main screen. Message was playing on loop. Not words, just a signal. Mara looked confused. It's from deep space. Chirac listened. Closely, his face went pale. It's not just any signal. It's a recall code. From the Dravari central mind, Elliot frowned. What does it mean? Chirac stared at the screen. They're trying to wake something up. He stepped back and nearly fell. They're calling me. Everyone went silent. You mean they're trying to activate you? Graf asked. Yes. Maybe they know I betrayed them. Maybe they want to reset me or destroy me from inside. Elliot looked serious. Can we stop it? Chirac shook his head. Not from here. Signal is too strong. It's coming from one of their hidden beacons. Maybe on one of Jupiter's moons. Mara stepped forward. Then we go there. Destroy the beacon. Graf laughed nervously. You want to fly into enemy space? Mara didn't blink. You don't have a choice. If we lose Chirac, we lose everything. Chirac stood. His face was calm, but fire burned in his eyes. I'll go alone, Mara said firmly. We go as a team. Within a day, they prepared a stolen enemy shuttle. Gosh. Chirac modified the controls so humans could fly it. The team was small Chirac, Mara Graf, and 2 engineers who knew how to hack enemy tech. They flew silently into space. Hiding behind asteroid belts and radiation fields, it took 16 hours to reach the source, a dark satellite floating above a dead moon. Chirac stared at it. That beacon was built long ago. I remember the design. It was part of Project Rebirth. What's that? Mara asked. It was a plan. To bring back soldiers, even after death. My blood is part of that plan. They docked with the beacon. The entrance was unguarded. Inside it felt like 2 metal walls, dim red lights, frozen air. Chirac led the way. His body began to shake. The signal, it's getting stronger. Mara supported him. Stay focused. They reached the core room. A pulsing orb sat at the center. Wires ran from it into the walls. It was alive with strange energy. Graf opened his toolkit. You destroy it now. No. Chirac said, not yet. I need to connect. Are you insane? Graf shouted. Chirac ignored him. He placed his hand on the orb. His body jerked. His eyes glowed. His mouth opened, but no sound came. Inside his mind, he saw everything. The war. The training camps. The lab where he was made. Saw other Chirac's clones, failed versions. Then he saw the code. A black river running through his soul. Cold commands. Unstoppable orders. Return, obey, destroy. But something was different. Another voice, soft, warm, Mara's voice, Graf's laugh. The humans. The kindness, Chirac screamed and pulled his hand back. The orb cracked. Alarms rang. You okay? Grabbed him. Chirac nodded slowly. I broke the link. Graf planted charges on the beacon core. They ran. Behind them, the beacon began to shake. As their shuttle escaped, the beacon exploded into pieces. No more signal. No more control. Inside the ship, Chirac sat back, breathing hard. Mara smiled. You won. No, Chirac whispered. We won. When they returned to Earth's orbit, Command sent a message. Alien beacon destroyed. Signal broken. But a new question has started. How many more are like Chirac? Outpost 47 became famous. But more importantly, so did the idea that sometimes the most dangerous weapon ever made chooses to become a protector. The mission to destroy the beacon had changed everything back at Outpost 47. Chirac wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was proof. Proof that the Dravari could be beaten not only with weapons, but with something they never understood, choice, and Earth wanted to understand how. 1 week later, a sleek black shuttle landed near the outpost. It didn't belong to any military branch. The men who stepped out wore no ranks. It's just simple suits with silver pins. They called themselves Division 9 Commander Elliot, met them at the gates. "This is still a military outpost," he warned. Lead man smiled. "We're not here to take control. We're here to help." But everyone knew the truth. Division 9 didn't show up unless something strange was involved, something powerful. Dangerous, or both. And Jarak was all of that. They set up a lab in the lower levels. Clean walls, bright lights, quiet rooms. Jarak was asked to stay there for observation. Agreed, but only if Mara stayed nearby. She agreed without hesitation. Graf didn't trust them. They're not doctors. They're engineers. Programmers. Look at their hands. No calluses. Just scanner pads. But it was too late. The experiment had already started. They called it Project Ember. A test to see if Jarak's blood could be used to create a cure or maybe even a weapon against the Dravaris' control systems. Jarak sat in a sealed room. While machines hummed around him, it took samples of his cells, mapped his neural patterns, and tested how his body reacted to different types of radiation and signals. Mara stayed outside, the glass window every day, watching, waiting. "Are you in pain?" she asked through the mic. Jarak gave a soft smile. "No more than usual." But something was happening. Jarak's body began to change, not in size or shape, but inside. His mind felt sharper, his vision clearer, his thoughts faster. And then the dream started. He saw strange blue shapes in the dark. Patterns, equations, languages no human had written, but somehow he understood them. He drew them on the walls with his fingers. The scientists were shocked. "He's evolving," one whispered. "His mind is unlocking old codes." But not everyone liked what they saw. Graf stormed into the lab. "You're not studying him? You're activating something?" The head researcher didn't look up. "We don't fear knowledge." Graf pointed at Jarak behind the glass. "You should." That night, alarms blared across Outpost 47. Jarak's heart rate had dropped, his body temperature fell. His skin glowed faintly blue. The machines couldn't explain it, but Jarak could. "I see it," he whispered to Mara. "Everything they built, everything they hid." His eyes opened, and they weren't the same. It's no longer soft brown. They shimmered with deep silver light. Division 9 rushed in. "Prepare Phase 2. He's accessed the source layer." "What's that?" Mara shouted. "It's a Dravari legend," one of them answered. "A state of perfect mind control meant for leaders."
Ow.
No one's ever reached it. Until now. Jarak stood up without moving a muscle. The lights flickered. All across the lab, machines died. Screens went black. Doors locked themselves. Jarak had connected to the systems without touching them. "Jarak," Mara called. "Can you hear?" "Me." He turned to her. "Yes. And I can hear everything else too." His voice had changed. Softer, deeper, echoing like he was in two places at once. Then came the real shock. All screens in the base. Flickered on, an image appeared, an alien. Face, cold and sharp. A Dravari commander. "Unit Jarak. You have reached the source layer. You are now worthy." Jarak stared back. "I choose my own worth. Return to us. You were made to rule." Jarak's voice sharpened. "Then you made a mistake." Raised one hand. Every machine in the base began to spark. Lights cracked. Walls shook. Mara rushed in past the guards. "Jarak, stop. You'll destroy yourself." Jarak looked at her. His eyes softened again. "They want control. I want freedom. I'll give it to others too." With a final pulse of energy, Jarak sent a signal into the sky. Across Earth's satellites, something changed. Hidden Dravari codes buried deep in old tech were erased. The control web was broken. Their quiet invasion plan, their sleeper systems, their mind traps, they all burned out. The Dravari transmission cut off. Jarak fell to his knees. Mara caught him. His breathing slowed. His eyes dimmed. The scientists ran in. "He's fading." They injected stabilizers. X. Heartbeat returned slow, but steady. Mara held his hand. "You came back?" he whispered. "I never left." Project Ember was shut down. Division 9 left quietly. No official statement, no reports. But something new had begun. Sherak wasn't just a test subject anymore. He was a signal, proof that the enemy's strongest tool, fear and control, could be beaten, not with bombs, not with fleets, but with a mind strong enough to say no, and a heart brave enough to fight back. And Earth had just found its first weapon. That was once the enemy's greatest experiment. The sky above Earth's orbit looked calm. But deep space wasn't quiet anymore. After Sherak sent the signal and broke the Dravari's hidden code, something terrifying happened. The enemy responded. Not with another message, not with a warning. With a fleet, dozens of ships, shaped like black knives, appeared on the edge of the solar system, silent, cold, deadly. They weren't scanning or talking. They were coming in fast, straight toward Earth. Outpost 47 got the warning first. Mara stood at the command center, watching red dots flash on the radar. "They're not stopping," she whispered. Elliot walked in, pale-faced. "They're sending in execution-class ships. These are not scouts. This is a death squad." Graf slammed his fist on the table. "They're not just attacking, they're hunting him." Sherak, down in the recovery chamber. Sherak was still healing. His eyes flickered open when the alarms started. He sat up slowly. "They're here." Mara came in. "You don't need to fight. You're not ready." He stood anyway. I'm the reason they're coming." "Exactly," Mara said, grabbing his arm. "But now you're one of us. You're not alone anymore." The humans didn't run. Instead, they prepared. Outpost 47 had always been a small station. But in secret, it had been rebuilt over the last weeks. Hidden turrets, experimental weapons, orbital mines, and one final surprise. Sherak had given them Dravari technology. His memory still held their blueprints, their weak spots. Earth's engineers worked night and day. And now, they had something ready. A weapon hidden deep under the outpost. They called it Project Ashfall. Cannon that could fire a pulse strong enough to knock enemy ships offline if it hit the core systems. But it needed a target lock. Only Kurak could give them that. He stood in a black armored suit, half human design, half alien tech. His eyes still glowed faintly, and not as a weapon now, but as a guide. The first enemy ships entered the upper atmosphere. They didn't send drones. They sent a message. On every screen across the base, the same face appeared. The Dravari High Speaker. "You stole what belongs to us. You will return." Him, Mara replied first. "He belongs to no one." The Dravari smiled. "Then he will die with you." The battle started seconds later. Lasers cut through the sky. Human satellites exploded. Drones launched from the base and intercepted the first wave. Sherak stood on the roof of the base, looking into the sky. He closed his eyes. "I can feel their ships," he said. "I know how they move." He opened a channel to the cannon crew. "Prepare." Ashfall Graf, down below, shouted back.
"Ready, but
"We need a lock." Sherak whispered something in his language. The lights on his suit flared. He pointed to the sky straight at the Dravari command ship. "There, that's the core. Fire." The cannon launched with a deep roar that shook the base. A glowing pulse flew upward like a comet. The enemy saw it. They tried to dodge, but they weren't fast enough. The pulse hit. The command ship jerked, then stopped. Lights flickered. Engines died. Weapons fell silent. One by one, the ships behind. It lost power. Sherak had done it, but the fight wasn't over. 3 smaller ships broke off and flew straight toward the base. They didn't want victory anymore. They wanted revenge. The base shields sparked. One ship crashed into the side of the mountain nearby. 2 more hovered above, and then the base lights went red. "Breached." A soldier shouted. "They're boarding." Sherak ran for the lower Levels. Mara followed, rifle in hand, alien soldiers thin, fast, full of blades cut through steel walls like paper. But they weren't expecting resistance like this. Jarak moved like fire. He dodged every strike. His arm transformed into a glowing blade, his old weapon, now turned on his creators. Mara fired from behind, covering him. Don't slow down. They fought through the halls. Graf appeared with more soldiers. Hallway's open pull. Them in. They lured the alien troops into a trap. Jarak activated a panel. The hallway locked behind them. Then Graf pushed the button. Explosive charges tore the invaders apart. Silent smoke. The base shook again, but this time it was the sound of victory. Outside, the enemy ships were drifting dead in space. The fleet had lost its leader. Its code was broken. They were blind, confused, and trapped in Earth's gravity field. Earth forces arrived minutes later. Missile cruisers, drones, fighters. They cleaned up what was left when the battle ended. Everyone waited for the final order. Jarak gave it. This message to the galaxy: Earth does not surrender. Not to code, not to fear, not to monsters who create weapons and call them soldiers. Outpost 47 was saved. But more than that, Earth had proven something. That even a former enemy, even a broken experiment, could become a shield. And this was just the beginning. Outpost 47 was quiet again. The sky above was clear, and the enemy ships were gone, burned, broken, or floating silently in space. But the silence wasn't empty. It was the kind of silence that came after something big. Something that would never be forgotten. Jarak sat on the edge of the cliff outside the base, staring up at the stars. His black armor was cracked, his body bruised, but he was alive. Beside him sat Mara, holding 2 metal mugs of hot water. They didn't speak at first. They didn't need to. I never thought I'd be part of this, Jarak said finally, his voice quiet. When they made me, I was just a tool. Mara looked at him. You became something more. He nodded slowly. Because of you and your people. Down below, the base was buzzing. Soldiers repaired damage. Engineers scanned the skies for any leftover signals. Scientists worked in secret rooms, trying to understand what Jarak had awakened inside himself. What he had shared with the world when he broke the Dravari control code. The message had spread it. It wasn't just Earth that heard it. Small colonies in deep space had picked up the signal. Abandoned stations with hidden codes suddenly lit up. Some old systems long believed to be normal shut down with a quiet blink. And across the stars, whispers began. Whispers of a Dravari weapon that broke free. A weapon that chose to protect instead of destroy. Division 9 returned one final time, their faces more respectful than before. They didn't ask for control now. They only asked Jarak one question. What do you want to do? He thought about it for a long time. He could have disappeared into deep space, could have stayed locked away, kept safe like a dangerous artifact. But he chose something else. I want to help rebuild, he said. I know how the enemy thinks. I know where they hide. I want to stop them before they hurt anyone else. The director of Division 9 nodded. Then we'll give you a team. Graf stepped forward. He already has one. Jarak smiled. Over the next few weeks, Earth's leaders watched Jarak closely, not with fear, but with curiosity and hope. He helped design new defenses, taught the military how to detect hidden codes in machines. He warned them of places in space where the Dravari might strike next. He also visited the injured, spoke to the young, told his story not with pride, but with honesty. I was created to follow, he told a group of students. But the moment I crashed on Earth, something changed. You didn't treat me like a tool. You treated me like a person, and that saved me. Mara watched from the back of the room, her arms crossed, a small smile on her lips. One night, as Jarak stood alone on the landing pad, he looked up and whispered, "They'll come again." Mara stepped beside him. "Then we'll be ready." But Jarak turned to her. "There are others like me. Maybe not many. But if even one of them is still alive, I want to find them, and we'll go find them together." And so, a new mission began. not one of war, but of rescue. Jarak, once a living weapon, now led a small ship with a human crew. They searched old Dravari battle zones. They followed weak signals from long-lost satellites. And sometimes they found survivors, abandoned test subjects, half human, half machine. Hiding in silence, Jarak spoke to them like no one else could. I was like you, but I found something better, a place where we can be more. Many of them followed. Some didn't. But the word spread across war zones, across systems forgotten by the stars. That Earth had taken in the enemy. That Earth had saved what others threw away, and the legend of Sharek grew. They called him the breaker of chains, the blade that turned, the ghost of Outpost 47. But to the people who knew him best, he was just Jarak, a being who was never meant to survive, never meant to feel love, never meant to be free, but who chose all three, and that choice changed the galaxy forever.